This new window is the analyzer. This is where we can work out our risk, our reward, our break-evens for the trade that we may or may not wish to do. Now, it's important to realize that when we go from the trade finder directly to the analyzer, what we've got is last night's prices. Now, that's fine if the market hasn't opened yet today. But if the market is open today, we may want to refresh these prices. So I would click on OK to refresh the data. It goes and gets it, and here we are refreshed. When we press refresh, it'll also remind us that we've got an earnings announcement due. Now, as it happens, the market isn't open as I'm doing this recording, but all I have to do now is click on calculate. I click the calculator icon, and guess what? I get a whole bunch of results, which you should be quite familiar with having seen the CDs. Now, as with everything else on the site, help is always close at hand. All I have to do in any section is click on the question mark, and a help menu for that particular area will pop up, and it will explain every single part, every single component of that particular area of the site. So you can understand what we mean by historical volatility and volatility period. We can understand what we mean by the legs, by the quantities, etc., etc. Now, when we press calculate, you'll notice that a lot of things started to happen. For a start, all these pretty charts came up, and secondly, also all these numbers came up to show us what our trade looks like. Now, over the coming weeks and months, I'll be putting up free blogs and more videos on the technicalities of how you should be using the analyzer and how to interpret results. For now, though, have a play, realize that this area here gives you your payouts. It's showing us that the straddle has cost us $7.40. That's the net debit figure here, but it also happens to be the maximum risk. Now, as you know from the CDs, we never risk our maximum risk. With straddles, we're always out of the straddle a couple of weeks after earnings. So you would never, ever have the entire lot at risk anyway. Normally it's 20, 25%. And if the stock price has moved, then it won't even be that. If we were to trade one contract with this, 7.4 times 100, because there's 100 shares delegated into one contract, would be $740 risked on this trade. But again, you wouldn't actually be risking that. Your real risk would only be a couple of hundred, if that. It also shows us our break-even to the downside and our break-even to the upside. And remember, when we're doing straddles and strangles, there is no maximum reward. So basically, our maximum reward is unlimited. If we want to click on a chart, we can click on a chart, and when we click on the chart, we can get an expanded view. There we go. Now, I want to show you something pretty cool here. I'm going to expand a chart. I click on the risk profile chart, which you're familiar with in the course, and I'm going to bring the window down here. And what you see is you see the three lines. You see our risk profile today, you see our risk profile at expiration, which is the green line, and you see this magenta dotted line as well. Now, if we look at the settings here, we see it's set to 1 month. That means that that magenta dotted line is showing us what our risk profile looks like with 1 month left to go to expiration if we were to hang on that long, which obviously you know from the disc that we wouldn't do anyway. But it means it gives us an idea of how our risk profile will change over time. So if our risk profile today is like the blue line, and if our risk profile at expiration is like the green line, then the magenta line will move in between the two according to what time we pick in this drop down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the drop down. So I'm going to ask the question, what would our risk be if we only held on to, say, 2 months before expiration, which basically means we would get out of the trade quicker. I select 2 months, I press calculate, and now I click on the chart again, and notice that that magenta line has moved up somewhat, hasn't it? It's quite different to what it was before. Let's now choose something else. Let's just now assume that we're going to hang on to this trade until, say, 2 weeks before expiration. Now, we would never normally do this, but I just want you to see how it looks. So notice where the magenta line is right now. It's very, very tight to the break-even line. Now let's have a look at what it might look like with, say, 2 weeks left to expiration. I've got to press calculate again. Notice the line's moving, and look what's happened. The line has moved all the way down, and the closer it gets to expiration, the closer the lines will be together. So that's a pretty cool function. It gives you a visual on what's going to happen to your risk profile, what's likely to happen. Now, this is not a precise science, but it does give you an idea. And I will be providing more video content and more articles on this as we move along the next few months. So that's basically how the analyzer works. All the help commands are here. If I click on any one of them, you'll get the menu, and that's also very, very important, so you can learn whilst you're doing it on the job. And that's the basics of how to use the analyzer. Now, there's just one couple of things I'm going to show you in addition to this, and that's in this yellow area, you'll see I've got more icons. Now, very, very soon, you're going to be able to save your trades so you can then compare them with other trades. You're also going to be able to look at your folder of saved trades. You're going to be able to refresh the data, which you can already do. This handshaking icon is where you will be able to transmit the figures that are in the analyzer directly to a brokerage. So that's a pretty cool thing. With all the figures pre-populated, you'll also have to put in your username and password for the brokerage in order for you to get through their security, but that's a pretty cool function. So you can do all your analysis here on the Trade Finder. You can look at the news, look at the headlines, look at the charts. You can do other investigations if you like, as I taught you in the CDs, and then you can analyze it, and if it looks good to you, you can literally push it straight through to your broker, which is pretty cool, wouldn't you say? So that's the analyzer for now.